All right. All right, y'all. Saints lose 21-14 to the Rams. Not not terribly surprising that they lost, but as it typically goes, how these things come about tend to matter more. Um, you know, my big concern coming into this game was the Saints' pass defense against the Rams' pass offense, especially considering what we saw a year ago in this game. Um, and no Lattimore, obviously no Adebo. You got Taylor and Kool-Aid starting on the outside, and it's Nakua and it's Cooper Kupp and it's and it's Robinson and it's Stafford slinging the ball. And to shut them out in the first half, I'm sure you all saw the soundbite there, or the stat, the graphic. First time Sean McVay has been shut out in the first half of the regular season in his head coaching career. First time the Rams have been shut out in the first half since 2016 against Atlanta. It happened in the Super Bowl when they lost 13-3 to the Patriots. But to go out there and to shut them out in the first half, and only be leading 3-0. I'm sorry, 6-0. It's disappointing, man. I got to go back to the penalty on Taliesin Fuanga. That really felt like that was at a point where you were trying to take command of this game. It's 3-0. You get in the end zone on a really great effort play by Alvin, and it comes back because of penalty on Taliesin Fuanga, and then then Trevor Penning gets the 15-yarder, and you end up missing the field goal. So you get no points off a drive where it looked like you're going to be at 10-0. Instead, you get no points there. So that's brutal. And then just the defensive lapses in the second half. I mean, you allowed them a 14-point fourth quarter. When you had to get stops, you couldn't. I mean, they came over and took the opening possession of the third quarter right down the field on you. Matthew Stafford, after throwing for 23 yards in the first half, 23 yards in the first half. They go right down the field, 11 plays, 70 yards, 6:10 off the clock. And all the work you had done to build that lead, shutting them out and everything, it's gone just like that. Then Robinson scored. I'll tell you what, man, really heck of a play by Marcos Valdez-Scantling, who continues to be a huge surprise on this team. Another touchdown reception, 28 yards, and then what a play by Dante Pettis on the 2-point conversion to tie it. But, in a blink, I mean, 3 minutes later, 3 minutes, they're back on top. And, you went down, you had an opportunity there in the red zone to tie it, but Jared Verse made the play. I mean, Foster Moreau, God bless you, doing the best you can, but you got Foster Moreau blocking an elite guy like Jared Verse. That's probably how it's going to go. Derek Carr's got to have a little better sense of holding on to the ball and getting rid of it. So I don't know, man. I'm disappointed because it's an all too familiar feeling for this season, where it's games you felt like you could have, maybe should have won. The Eagles game was 15-12. You blew that one. Obviously, the Falcons, you lost 26-24 in a game where you didn't allow an offensive touchdown. Losing to the Panthers was inexcusable. It's why Dennis Allen got fired. And then here's another one with the loss to the Rams. So, I mean, that's at least 4, maybe 5 games that you could look up and say, man, how did you lose that one? And, that's the difference between being 8-3 or 9-2 right now and sitting there at 4-8, or not 9-3, I guess, and sitting there at 4-8. Um, Super disappointing, man. Let me know what y'all got. Brett, what's up? Adam. Yeah, Adam. I mean, I know a lot of people expect me to rant about, rant and curse and all this. I mean, I'd have to be at a point where I felt like there was something to be gained. Maybe the most disappointing part about this is like you shut them out in the first half. You're at home. You had a chance to win on a day where Atlanta lost on their home field to the Chargers. And so, I mean, as far of a shot as it was, long of a shot as it was, to get back into this division race, with Atlanta losing, I mean, man, if you find a way to win this, you're a game back. Now, technically, you'd be 2 games back, right? Because Atlanta, you can't win the division tiebreaker, so you'd have to be owning it outright. But nobody's running away and hiding with this division right now. Tampa's beating Carolina by 4 with 3 minutes to go. So that's the disappointing part. So I don't feel anything about this loss. It's weird. It's just see, here's the thing. Rufflam said we weren't going to the playoffs anyway. Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of the in-between feeling you have right now, right? So, I mean, in a sense, you feel like you're playing for the future. You feel like you're playing for draft picks. You feel like you're playing for what will be instead of what is. But the flip side of it is, with Atlanta losing today, how do you argue again? Like, you can't say, we weren't going to the playoffs anyway. I mean, you win that game today, you're very much in the thick of it. And it's a game that was right there for you to win, which is the bummer. Pastor Brandon, back to reality. You called it. I mean, I did pick the Rams to win, but I also picked the Browns to beat the Saints. So, I mean, I'm not some savant here. You win some and lose some, but I did think the Rams were better. But I also don't think it's any great, like, massive prediction to say, oh, the Saints, who fired their coach because they were 2-7, aren't going to be able to make the playoffs. I think that's the reality. Couple of wins, they were playing better, had us feeling good and thinking maybe they might get hot and get on a run here. But the way that I'd kind of said it was, I thought there was 2 wins left out there. I think they can win next week at the Giants. And I think they can beat the Raiders in New Orleans. Beating Washington is going to be really hard. Winning at Green Bay, I don't know if I see that. And then at Tampa's probably playing for the division that final weekend, so I don't know that I see that. I'd be remiss if I went any further without mentioning Taysom Hill. Man, on the 4th and 1, they're in the single wing. Taysom, we all know he's getting the ball and he carries it left side and he plows forward. But man, my initial thought was, I thought it was initially I thought it was how he hit his head. But when you look at the slow mo, it's an awful hyperextension of his left leg. If you look at it again in slow mo, it's really tough. So, the old Mike D angle strikes again. The week a team loses their starting center, they fail to cover 80% of the time. No Eric McCoy this week, and it hurt you. And then you lose Taysom late as well. And obviously, we've seen what's happened to this team whenever they didn't have those guys. So, in this game, Carr threw for 184. How about Alvin Kamara, 112? If there's something that you want to look forward to, I think it'd be really cool. Alvin Kamara is pacing for his first ever 1,000-yard rushing season. As of right now, he's at 782. So he's 218 yards away. He's never had a 1,000-yard season. So AK looks like he'll probably hit the 1,000-yard mark for the first time in his career, which would be cool. But that's kind of what you're playing for right now, and then just to see how the whole thing shakes out. Bovine Johnny, once Taysom got carted off, best to go ahead and tank. Carr is a useless as a butthole on an elbow. Still no wins against the Rams in his career. Defense did their job. Hey, you know what? I know the defense in the second half gave up 21 points. But against that Rams offense, which I know they've scuffled at times this year, but to give up 21 in that game feels like a win. You got to be able to score more than 21 in your home field. And shoot, Sean McVay passed on a field goal as well. I mean, I tweeted at the time. Y'all know how I feel about that. But Sean McVay in the red zone passed on a field goal, went for it on a fourth down. The Saints got the stop. If they had gotten points there, it really changes the whole dynamic. The Saints wouldn't have even been driving for a tie there at the end. They would have needed 2 possessions. So coaches still hate points. Father J.D. Mathern, most frustrating part, their games we could, should have won. So true. Hard to win in the NFL, man. The Saints can't do it. Toki Doki, Jerry G. Hey, dude, man, we got rid of DA. When do we send Carr on his way? Look, man, the thing about Carr and the reason why whenever they extended him, I was so disappointed. It's not that I didn't think they were going to do it. It's just that I didn't think they should do it. When you look at the Saints for next year with Derek Carr, Carr's contract for 2025, his cap hit's $51 million. His dead number is $50.1 million. So whether Carr's on the team next year or not, it's still going to cost you $50 million against the cap. You're financially bound to him. So it's hard to imagine New Orleans not having Derek Carr on the roster next year. The question is, do you go spend a high draft pick on his replacement and let them battle it out, and then maybe let him sit behind Carr for a year and then take the reins in 2 seasons, which is something I wouldn't be opposed to, especially considering the success we saw. Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith for a year. We obviously saw Jordan Love sit and wait. We saw Aaron Rodgers sit and wait. Guys that sit and wait are the exception, not the rule, but I wouldn't be opposed to that. Shane O'Mac, Charlie, survey says Saints still suck. Jacob, back to the drawing board. Look, man, you lost Nick Saldiveri in this game too. So you had no Eric McCoy, you had no Lucas Patrick, and then you lose Nick Saldiveri in the game as well. You're right back where you were early in the season when Taysom was hurt and you were down 3 offensive linemen. So, when you were in the midst of that 7-game losing streak, a big part of it was all the injuries offensively, in particular on the line and with Taysom Hill, and you're right back there again. Billy said there's no way to replicate Taysom's production. You're right. There's no argument to the contrary. All the different ways he impacts the game, you're right. We've seen it over and over again. This team can't stress me out anymore. Now we can lose out now that Luck 2-0 gets to go get a top 5 pick now. Like the effort tied to late. Defense can't get stops in the second half. The biggest disappointment continues to be the rush defense. Let me look at the rush in total. The Rams threw it for 166, which isn't bad. I would have taken that with Stafford on this day with all those receivers. They rushed it 29 times for 156, 5.4 a carry. You can't give up 5.5 yards a carry. Not in the NFL. Alante P.I. Taylor strikes again. He also had some nice plays. Felt like the Eagles game. Yeah, the difference is you trailed much of that game, took the lead late, and then let it get away. But this, you kind of led much of it. But yeah, as far as a game that you feel like you should have won, maybe could have won, it got away from you, I agree. Giants will beat us, I hope. The Giants are a team that's pretty clearly tanking. But then again, I'll say this, Mad Goon. The Giants game on the road feels a lot like the Carolina game on the road did. And that was at a time where you got Carr back, but you were still without 3 starters on your line. You're without Taysom. And, we saw how that all played out. So, Yeah, I mean, they definitely could lose next week on the road at the Giants. Just the Giants are really bad. I mean, the Saints at least have a pulse offensively and some playmakers. The Giants just have nothing. Carr hasn't had a 300-yard game at all this season. I'm actually okay with that. I don't want the emperor of empty yards. That's when you're not efficient. That's when you're behind and he's throwing to play catch up. Tyron going out did hurt, no doubt. Eric Miller, rough season, plenty of games we could have, should have won. Injuries hurt. Carr's not good at critical times. Um, you know the drive before. No, it was this one. It was the Saints' last drive, 14 plays, 61 yards, 7:45 off the clock, and you get no points. Obviously, you had to go for it late, but um, the 3rd and 3 pass to Taysom that was incomplete. Um, I'm sorry, that was complete but just short. Um, the what was the one where he threw it away? Oh, it had to be the previous drive. It's all running it together in my brain right now. Anyway, it was a hideous drive by Carr. There it is. It was late in the 3rd quarter. Kamara for 5, deep middle to Austin for 16, incomplete to Foster Moreau, short middle, incomplete short right to Kamara. That was the one where looked like Kamara dropped it, but really needed to lead him a little bit more. Not a you got to put it on him. Kamara should have caught it, but I still don't think he gets the first down in that instance. Then on 3rd and 10, went deep left to Foster and threw him out of bounds. Just it's not good enough, man. I mean, we could talk about the game and everything they're in. I'm not. I'm just not. Look, I'm. Did Carolina score? Wow, good for them, man. Um, and that's. I mean, that's just another. That's more salt in the wound on this game, right? If Carolina goes and beats Tampa and the Chargers beat Atlanta, all you had to do was take care of the Rams at home in a game where you pitched a shutout for a half and allowed Matt Stafford 23 yards passing in the first half, and you, and you let it get away. But at this point now, like if you're just doing the math, right? So at 4-8 with 5 to play, Atlanta's 6-6. They're 2 games ahead of you. So really they're 3 games ahead of you with 5 to play. Like you have to win out. Can Atlanta lose 3 times? I mean, Atlanta's got at the Vikings, at the Raiders, the Giants, at the Commanders, and the Panthers. I mean, they could lose to the Vikings. They could lose to the Commanders. I don't know that they were losing to the Raiders, the Giants, and then they get Carolina at home. I mean, then there's the matter of you having to win out, which I don't think's happening. So you're basically just playing the stretch out here to see what your final record is and where you're going to draft. Odds are, I think, you're at 4 right now. Like I said, I think you can get 2 more. I think you'll beat the Giants. I think you can get the Raiders as well. So that puts you at 6. You know, mean, I'm looking here from a year ago. Let's see. Giants, Raiders, Jags, all with 2 wins. Pats, Titans, Jets, Browns, Panthers with 3. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's current. My apologies. Um, let's see. Last year, Carolina 2, Washington, New England, Arizona with 4, Chargers with 5, Tennessee and the Giants with 6. So if it finishes the way I think it might for New Orleans, you probably would end up drafting 6th, 7th, maybe somewhere in the top 10. Um, the question is, what's there for you in the top 10? Are you going to go after a quarterback? Hate that we're having the draft questions up, like at this point, y'all. Was hoping the Saints might make it interesting. Um, this is a good one. Kamara dropped 2 passes. Groupie missed a chip shot, but I'm sure it's Carr's fault. They're all complicit. I mean, I think the run defense in the second half was terrible. The groupie missed field goal still doesn't get you there. Points are points, though. It does change the dynamic. I always say that. But man, there's a reason they give win-loss records to quarterbacks. Fair or unfair, right or wrong, whether you want to or not. I mean, your offense put up 14 points. Your quarterback was 24 of 37 for 184. He threw 37 passes for 184 yards. He averaged 5 yards of completion. Come on, bro. I mean, if you're here to like defend Derek Carr, I mean, this is the wrong place to do it and the wrong crowd, because quite honestly, if you try to defend Derek Carr in any Saints crowd, that's just not going to go over well. Should said Kubiak's offense sucks without Taysom, which is so bizarre because a guy like Taysom shouldn't be the linchpin. Like, you should be able to run the football. It's all we heard about was the motion in the wide zone, and this is supposed to be perfect for Alvin Kamara. Kamara's pacing for his first 1,000-yard rushing season, but I think more than anything, it's the makeshift offensive line that's really cost you. So, anyway, all right. Jameis plays more hard in the snow than garbage in a controlled environment. I agree with you. But I don't think that any of us are going to sit here and say that Jameis Winston is the Saints' answer either. If you're thinking about how do you become a contending team again, like Jameis Winston's not that guy. Look, I like Jameis as much as anybody. I was the first, and I will own this, and I have receipts. I was the first person that covers this team that when Tampa cut Jameis Winston, I said the Saints should go sign him. And everybody laughed at me. All anybody said was interceptions and crab legs. I have the receipts. I have the first YouTube video I did the day he was cut. I sat in this office with my phone, cut a YouTube video, and said the Saints should go sign Jameis Winston. And then as time went on, more people got on board with it. Now he's kind of beloved. But the whole point was to say you had a guy there that's athletically gifted enough to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, faced adversity for the first time in his life and has responded to it. Came to New Orleans, sat behind Breeze, worked with Sean Payton, like all that stuff. There's a reason to like it. And somebody was saying Jameis better. I would take Jameis Winston over Derek Carr in a millisecond. In a millisecond, I would take Jameis Winston over Derek Carr. But if you're trying to tell me that Jameis is the answer, like that's both things can be true. Like Derek Carr is not the answer, but neither is Jameis. But if you're giving me the option of would I've wanted them to keep Jameis at a lesser price and build a roster around him over paying Derek Carr what they paid Derek Carr? Yes. I mean, listen, the other thing too is that nobody can counter me on this. The day they signed Derek Carr, I hated it. I still hate it because what I said the day they signed him is you're never winning anything of significance with Derek Carr. He's he is Andy Dalton. When you're a quarterback for 11 years in the league, You know, like there's a large enough sample to know what you are. And we know what Derek Carr is. He's a bottom tier, he's an upper bottom tier quarterback in the NFL. He's a low 20s, right? He's a 18 to 22 starting quarterback in the NFL, which makes you a starting quarterback in the NFL, but you ain't winning nothing with him. Said the day they signed him. So, all right. A lot of y'all saying Panthers and Bucks are going to OT. All right. Well, guys, we'll do it then, ladies. We'll do it again next week. Please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all for being there. Always rocking my Parish stuff. ParishBuilt.com. ParishBuilt.com. Need a roof? Would love to help you out. Free, no obligation roofing inspection all over the state of Louisiana. ParishBuilt.com. ParishBuilt.com. Got it scrolling down there as well. All right. Yeah, you know what? One more. Richard said it's the best thing that could have happened with a reset. It's what he's referring to. I think what he's referring to there is the Rizzi question. If they'd kept winning under Darren Rizzi, does he make a push to get the job? And he still may. But I agree. And I'll tell you, man, there's part of me there's part. I will be very not that I would ever lie to y'all, but I'll just be very transparent with what I'm thinking right now. There's part of me that goes, the Dolphins had Dan Campbell as their interim head coach. And Dan Campbell may not be the X's and O's guy. He may not be the innovative offensive mind, but he's a culture guy, and that has helped tremendously in Detroit. He's turned them into a winner. And I can't help but look at Darren Rizzi and go, is he the culture guy? Is he the culture guy that's going to get people believing, get the organization rolling, have the guys playing hard week in and week out? Is he the culture guy? And then you hire good assistants. Maybe not. But the way this probably goes is King Wine said, never been a fan of internal promotions. It rarely works out. Then says, that's a great point. But about Campbell, if you go back and you ask the Dolphins, hey, do you wish you could have kept Dan Campbell? They would, of course, they would all say yes. But it's just why there's always so much uncertainty around a coaching hire. So you make the best decision with the information you have, but it's why I'm a big believer of hire quickly, fire quickly. Once you realize that it's not going to work, move on. That's why giving Dennis Allen this year, that's why continuing this, giving Derek Carr the extension, you're just doubling down on a failed process. So, I mean, would you cut your losses with garbage? I mean, yeah, but at the same time, are you really going to cut a guy that's $50 million against your cap next year? Part of me says, what I would like to see them do is the Saints will probably be picking somewhere in the top 10. If they're bullish on a quarterback, move up and make a play to get the guy that you love and let him sit behind Carr for a year. And if he beats out Derek Carr year one, great. But the thing that the Saints have as an organization is they do have patience. Tom Benson was patient. Gail Benson has been patient. And I think that's one of the selling points for any potential coaching hire and for free agents. I mean, I know you're going to have veteran guys that want to go places to win now, but having patience with an organization trying to build and to win, makes sense. So, okay, y'all. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for being here. Bummer. I was kind of hoping we'd have the good vibes again, but wasn't meant to be. Saints are at the Giants next week. Hope everybody had an awesome Thanksgiving. Thanks for being here. Please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel. Y'all have an awesome rest of your night. We'll do it again next Sunday. Who dat, y'all? Be good.